Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys have all had a really good week. I have. Last weekend we had some amazing weather and I spent all day out in the garden. It was fantastic. Something that you guys might not know about me is that I love history. In fact, one of my favorite hobbies is reading about history. Anything from the Roman Empire to Napoleon. And one book that I love to read to learn more about history is the Bible. The Bible is actually a fantastic resource to learn about Hebrew history and the history of Israel and the Jewish people. The New Testament tells us all about Jesus' own life and his ministry. But the New Testament also tells us about the first Christians. The book of Acts tells us what happened to Jesus' disciples after his death and resurrection. You guys might remember that before Jesus ascended to heaven, he gave his final instruction, where he told his disciples to go all over the Roman Empire and tell everybody who would listen about him. During that time, thousands of people learned about Jesus through the disciples, and the church grew to a massive size in only a few years. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the book of Acts and what it tells us about what it was like to be a Christian 2,000 years ago. The book of Acts follows the apostles. Do you know the word apostle? It's a Greek word, and it literally means one who is sent forth. We call the 12 disciples the 12 apostles because Jesus specifically told them to go and spread the word about him. In the first years of the Christian church, the apostles went all over the place, healing people in the name of Jesus. They cured illnesses, they banished demons, and everywhere they went, they spread the hope of God. One of the first Christians that was brought into the church by the apostles was a man from Cyprus named Barnabas. I wonder what he would be able to tell us about the first Christians and how the church was in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago.
No need to wonder, Murray. Here I am.
Look, everybody, it's Barnabas. Barnabas, how are you doing?
Not bad on my part. I was just coming down from heaven to check up on things when my ears started burning, and I came to see who was talking about me.
Well, Barnabas, I was actually just telling the kids about what life was like for the first Christians 2,000 years ago.
Well, oh man, those were the days. Listen, since I'm already here, why don't I tell the kids something about what I remember?
That'd be fantastic, thank you.
Well, like you mentioned, I was originally from the island of Cyprus, where I owned a nice field and had a successful winery. Being Jewish, I had come to Jerusalem for the Passover celebration. Afterwards, I stayed there a little longer to catch up with family I had in Israel. One day, we went to the temple to worship together. I remember there was a crippled man sitting at the gate begging for money. My cousins told me that he was there every day. See, he had been born with weak legs and hadn't been able to walk much his whole life. Since he couldn't work, his friends had to carry him to that spot every day to beg for money from worshippers.
Oh, that's awful.
I'm sure it was. But wait until you hear what happened that day. As we were walking past, the beggar caught the attention of two men behind us. They were Peter and John, who were apostles of Jesus.
Oh, did you already know Jesus' apostles?
Well, no, I got to know them later on, but I had heard about Jesus. I was in Jerusalem during the week when he had been arrested and crucified. Everyone was buzzing about that fiasco. Anyway, I had heard about Jesus, but didn't know much about him, other than he had a lot of followers who said he was the Messiah. But at the time, there were a lot of people claiming that they were the Messiah. So after his death, I kind of forgot about him for a while. Until that day.
Please help me, sirs. God has made me crippled since birth. I depend on the help of others for everything. Please give me some money so that I can eat tonight.
Look at me. I have no silver or gold of my own that I can give you, but I will give you what I do have to share. In the name of Jesus of Nazareth, get up and walk.
When Peter took the cripple's hand and helped him get up, the man's legs suddenly became strong enough to carry him. The man had never walked before in his life, but now he was not only walking with Peter and John into the temple, but he even went ahead of them and danced. Needless to say, we were all astonished. I nearly got shoved right onto my back in that frenzy. But Peter quieted the crowd and spoke rationally to them.
People of Israel, why are you looking at me like I've done anything special? Do you think I have the power to heal people? These things are done through the power of Jesus Christ, who the people of this city had condemned to death. But now, miracles like this are happening every day through Jesus, who overcame death and was raised to God in glory.
So what should we do? Should we stay in the temple and worship God, or follow you and worship Jesus?
What you saw here was done by God, the very God that you came here to worship, the same God who was with your ancestors, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. He has glorified his servant Jesus, and the power that you are witnessing comes from him. You all know the promises that God made to Moses, Samuel, and all the prophets since them. Jesus was sent to keep those promises and save all of you from your evil ways. God knows that you have sinned because you didn't know any better. But now he wants to show you a better way to live.
That was the day that I became a believer in Jesus. I decided to extend my stay in Jerusalem a little longer, and some of my cousins and I went with Peter and John to learn more about Jesus.
What was it like being with them?
It was amazing. I had gone to Jerusalem hoping to find God, but I never thought my life could be transformed like it was. After Peter spoke to us, some of my cousins and I went to stay with him and the other apostles. Every day we saw them performing miracles. They healed people's illnesses, banished demons, and told us all about the time that they had spent with Jesus. One day, I got up the nerve to go and talk to Peter myself. Excuse me? I heard you speaking in the temple the other day. I have some questions for you. So this Jesus, he came into the world to save the Hebrews from the Romans?
My friend, Jesus came into the world to save anyone who wants to be freed from their sins. He has a place in heaven for anyone who follows him.
What should I do to become a follower of Jesus?
Go and get baptized. Then sell whatever possessions you have but don't need. Give that money to those who need it and tell them about Jesus. That's all you have to do.
I was convinced. I went back to Cyprus for a while after that to sell my property and get my affairs in order. Then I took my money that I had made selling my business and returned to Israel.
Tell me about the other Christians who were there. What was it like for you guys having a brand new community?
All of us who followed Jesus became very close. Like me, the wealthier people in our church had sold all of their possessions so they could give the money to others who had less. Everyone was equal, and everyone who was in need was looked after. Every day we worshipped God together in the temple. And boy, I don't think I ever ate better before that time. Every day I would have supper with other Christians. Someone was always hosting us and fed us really generously. Everyone was happy and thankful to God. We were generous in giving because we felt nothing but love for everyone who came to us for help. And every day, more people came to join the church.
Boy, that was an amazing story. Thank you so much, Barnabas, for coming to share it with us.
You are very welcome, Murray. It was nice to talk to you and the kids today. Bye-bye, everyone.
Here are some story review questions. What do you remember? What are some things that the early Christians did together to show their fellowship? How did the crippled man live since he couldn't work? Who was it that helped him? What was the very first thing that Peter said to the crippled man at the gate? How did people react when the crippled man suddenly got up and started dancing? When Barnabas asked Peter what he had to do to become a follower of Jesus, what did Peter tell him? Here are some discussion questions that you can talk to your families about. The early Christians were very generous. They gave anything that they didn't need to other people so that everyone had enough. What does it feel like to live with everything that we could possibly want? How do you think life would be if you suddenly didn't have enough food or enough money to live? When do you share things with your family members or with your friends? What do you enjoy sharing? And what do you find it hard to share sometimes? Describe to your family what you think it means to be generous. Hey guys, how are you doing? It's Murray here in the church office, and I want to give you your challenge of the week. Do this challenge over the coming week, and next Sunday when we see each other on Zoom, we'll talk about what you guys did. The early Christians knew that everybody had to do their part to make sure that all people had enough of what they needed. People would collect money for charity, they would make clothes for the poor, they cooked meals for each other, and if somebody didn't have a place to stay, they would even open up their own homes and offer their beds to any weary travelers. In our own homes, we also do special jobs to make sure that everyone has what they need. We call these jobs chores. And even though we often moan and groan about doing our chores, all chores are necessary to make sure that our households and our families have what they need and are happy. Your challenge this week is to think about a chore that you do for your parents. Ask yourself these questions. What is it that you do? How is the job that you do helpful for your family? When you guys have answered these questions, I want you to write a prayer to God, thanking Him for the chores that you do. That's right, we're going to thank God for chores. Let me give you an example. At home, it's my job to wash dishes. Every day after dinner is cooked and eaten, I go to the kitchen and I wash all the dishes. I put everything in the dishwasher where it belongs. I turn it on, and anything that can't go in the dishwasher, I have to scrub by hand. So here's a prayer that I thought up as an example for you guys. Dear God, thank you that I get to clean the dishes every day so that they're always ready for our next meal, and the kitchen never stinks of old food. Every job that we do for our families is a blessing from God. So whenever we do our chores, we should do them with a thankful heart because we have families that we can do these things for. And likewise, our families do really special chores for us so that we're happy. So I can't wait to see you all next week and to hear the prayers that you guys come up with. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and have a great week. I'll see you soon.